Rouse's is proud of the creativity and the unparalleled entertainment in New Orleans, and honored to highlight it with their sponsorship of Steppin Out on WYES.
Steppin Out is made possible in part by Susie and Pierre G. Villery.
With a lifetime of passion for public television, we're pleased to help underwrite Steppin Out.
Please join us in supporting WYES TV.
I'm Peggy Scott Laborde, and welcome to Steppin Out, with updates from the local restaurant, arts, and entertainment scenes. Joining me, Poppy Tooker, host of Louisiana Eats on WWNO Radio. Hi.
Hello,
Hi,
Miss
Poppy.
Peggy.
It is so great to see Gwen Thompkins, author and executive producer for Music Inside Out, heard on public radio. Howdy, Gwen.
Hello,
it's good to see you.
Thank you. Nice to be seen.
Absolutely. And Alan Smason, editor of the Crescent City Jewish News and theatercriticism.com. Hey, Alan. Later in our program, we'll be hearing from Sharon Preston-Folta, the daughter of jazz giant Louis Armstrong. She is profiled in a new documentary. We'll also visit with internationally known but New Orleans-born trumpeter and composer Terence Blanchard. But first up, Poppy, next to music, as we know, food is very much the focus of festgoers.
Well, Peggy, we're going to start off with a picture that to me just says it all. You know, you look into the sky and you see a message. It's time. It is time, and it's back. It's Jazz Fest. The gates open tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., and it's on. All the deliciousness. A few things missing, but, you know, anything you're mourning about. I mean, remember the time when the only place you could get fresh, hot cracklins was from Fatty's Cracklins, and now they're available right over there with Isaac Toops at Toops Meadery anytime. And there is so much deliciousness. Of course, there's the Jamma Jamma, everybody's favorites. There's some new foods, like you'll find fish tacos at Carmo, right there next to Crawfish Monica at Food 2, but trying to stay on a diet? Well, Molly Kimball's trying to help you with her Eat Fit Hidden Menu app. And, oh gosh, from Opelousas, there is some fantastic new fried eggplant with shrimp dressing and lemon garlic butter shrimp. This is from a place called TCA Brocata's, nothing to do with pastry. And they also have Ninth Ward hot tamales and NOLA street corn, which is like an elote. Now, I'll be next Saturday at the Food Heritage Stage in the Grandstand, and it's one of the best kept secrets. But what's going to be happening is something that's never happened before. I've got a double spot. From 1:30 to 3:30, I will be there with Laveau Contraire and Debbie with the D, and we are going to be putting on a real a real drag queen brunch at Jazz Fest. And of course, now don't forget, my number one favorite thing, Miss Linda's fried pork chop sandwich. Anybody who has been watching the show for any period of time is well acquainted with me pulling that pork chop sandwich right out of my purse. And I couldn't bring that with me today, so I sent you that great picture of it. Now, if you don't know what to do next week in between fest days, there's the 5th NOLA Crawfish Fest, which people will remember happening before at Central City Barbecue. Now it's at the Broadside. Those tickets are $45 for all day, great music. Andros Osborne is playing. And then, for free, on Wednesday night, Wetlands Sake on Orange Street off of Chapatulas is kicking off their live music series just in time for Jazz Fest. Meschiya Lake and the Little Bighorns are playing that night. There'll be crawfish from Clessy's. And, oh, the sake will be cold and flowing and delicious. There's a cocktail bar right there in the commissary next door with all kinds of great food. So much fun over the next 2 weeks. I'm so excited.
And we're so glad. How many years have you been participating at the Food and Heritage stage?
At least 35.
Oh my goodness, Poppy. Congratulations. Congratulations. Wonderful.
Thanks.
And of course, now we've got to talk about music, and who better than Gwen?
Absolutely. This is a wonderful time, actually. After 2 years of pandemic and disappointment, the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, as Poppy says, is on. And it's happening, and we're thrilled about it. While the musicians are going to be really crucial to the fun, my guess is that most people who are out on the fairgrounds are just going to be happy that they're out on the fairgrounds. You know what I mean? That's the main event, actually. But the only glaring omission this year for the Jazz and Heritage Festival, which I think a lot of people are going to miss, of course, will be the musician interviews over at the Allison Minor Music Heritage Stage. That's in the grandstand normally. But this year there won't be any interviews, and it's really going to be a loss because it's the one opportunity that a lot of music lovers have to go and see their favorite artist up close or learn about a new artist up close. So you're going to have to pay attention. We're all going to have to pay attention to what's happening on the music stages even more because it'll be our only shot, really. Now, when all of the choices are good, you cannot make a mistake. That's the one truism of life, right? And I'm just going to tell you what my Friday plan is because it's going to include the virtuoso guitarist named Bambino, who is from Niger. He is a wonderful artist. You can see him online on YouTube and listen to his music, and perhaps you might be interested in him as well. He's going to be playing at the Blues Tent at 1:35 and again at the Cultural Exchange Pavilion at 4:45. And I'm not sure if Bambino has ever played in New Orleans before or when to expect him to again, so this is a good time to see him. Also, Arturo Sandoval. He is the Cuban-American trumpet player who had a long friendship and musical association with Dizzy Gillespie. And like Gillespie, Sandoval's live performances are really wonderful. They're full of personality and humor and extraordinary fire. And he plays straight-ahead music. He plays tango. He does movie scores. He's brilliant, and he is the perfect choice, actually, to close out the jazz tent at 5:45 on Friday. And then here's the rub, actually, because also, at the end of the day, we're going to be hearing from the War and Treaty. And they are one of the most exciting singing duos I have seen in recent memory. Michael Trotter Jr. and his wife Tanya Blunt, they're stand on your seat good. They remind you about the roots of American popular music as a Pentecostal root tradition. I mean, all great American music tends to come from the church, whether it's rock and roll or blues or country or soul. And they have that when they sing. It's really amazing, and they are the perfect choice to close out the Blues Tent at 5:40. So you're going to have to make some really tough choices. I certainly will. I might, hedge my bets and see a few minutes of both. On Saturday, the plan is to see the singer Germaine Bazzle, who is in her 9th decade and who especially shines at Jazz Fest. And she's going to be at the Jazz Tent at 1:30 on Saturday, Germaine Bazzle. Also, and this is another Sophie's Choice, David Shaw, who is the lead singer of the Revivalists. He released an excellent solo album during the shutdown, actually, and he always puts on a dynamic show, and he will be at the Gentilly stage at 1:35. This is another tough choice, but maybe, there's a way to squeeze both in. It will get easier around the 3 o'clock hour because at Economy Hall, there's going to be a tribute to Bessie Smith featuring Meschiya Lake, Jolinda Kiki Chapman, and Barbara Schwartz with Lars Edegren. There's going to be a lot of belting, of course, by some superior singing talent, and I like to be there to hear it because without Bessie Smith, there would be no telling where popular music would be. And yet there are going to be some people who are not going to want to go to the festival, and that's okay because there's plenty of music around the city without the festival, including something that I just think is going to be really nice, which will be singer-songwriter Lucinda Williams, who's going to be playing Saturday night at House of Blues. The doors open at 8 o'clock. Also, Trombone Shorty is having his own mini jazz festival at the Sanger. That's also on Saturday night at 8 o'clock. It's called the Treme Throwdown. It features everybody and their mother, apparently, from Joan Jett and Gary Clark Jr. to the Preservation Hall Jazz Band and David Shaw and James Andrews and Tank and the Bangas. I mean, that is Jazz Fest, right? And then also on Sunday, it's going to be lovely on the fairgrounds, actually, because the Cuban percussionist Alexey Marti will be there at the WWOZ Jazz Tent, and it's going to begin at 1:20. And if you've not seen him, he's just lovely. He's so generous on stage, and he's a virtuoso percussionist, but he also is so generous with other musicians and focuses on their work as well. At about 3 o'clock at the Lanyap stage, I'm very excited about. It is Daniel Lanois with the drummer Bryan Blade and vocalist Daryl Johnson. And these are musical heavyweights. They have their own original music, but between them, they've recorded or played with nearly every major artist in jazz and in rock and roll, including U2 and Bob Dylan and Joni Mitchell and Emmylou Harris and Herbie Hancock. I mean, among others. They're just very seasoned and wonderful musicians. Bryan Blade is from Louisiana, went to Loyola, and they will be on the Lanyap stage Sunday at 3 o'clock. And then, of course, this is where the heart is. My heart is with Randy Newman and will always be. I just absolutely adore him. And he's been a great friend to New Orleans and a consistent visitor. He's also belongs among the great songwriters and film scorers in American history. He's announced recently that he's broken his neck. I don't know if you all knew that, but he recently underwent surgery for this. He canceled several tour dates overseas, but as far as I know, he has not canceled his appearance at the Jazz Festival, and I'm going to be there on Sunday at 4:10 at the Blues Tent to see Randy Newman, because he's come to see me. And then finally, for those of you all who cannot make it to Jazz Fest on Sunday or who want a different experience off the fairgrounds, try John Oates with Guthrie Trapp. They're going to be playing an acoustic guitar set at Chicky Wawa.
Wow.
Sunday at 8 o'clock. Now, most people know John Oates because of his work with Hall & Oates, in the pop world, but he's had a lifetime commitment to acoustic blues and American roots music. And Guthrie Trapp is a wonderful Nashville session musician and original artist, and they make a lovely team. I saw them on YouTube recently performing a Doc Watson song, and I think Doc Watson would be quite proud. They're terrific. That's Chicky Wawa, Sunday at 8 o'clock.
Wow, and I know those are some hard decisions to make. Thank you so much, Gwen, for helping us wade through all of that good stuff. Thank you. Trumpeter, band leader, composer Terence Blanchard will be performing with his band, the E Collective, and the Turtle Island String Quartet this weekend at the Jazz Fest. We recently had a chance to visit and discuss what we can expect to hear.
The Turtle Island String Quartet is an amazing group. I think they are really redefining what a string quartet is. It all started when I wanted to do a tribute album to the great Wayne Shorter, who is a person who has influenced my career greatly. A lot of us, he's meant so much to us, and I wanted to show him how much we love him now. And when I started that, the pianist in the band at the time, his name was Fabian Almazan, he said, well, hey, man, do you mind if I write some stuff for string quartet? And I said, no, not at all. And then my manager, Robin Burgess, said, well, why don't we hire Turtle Island String Quartet? And we literally got into the studio, and I started to do some arrangements. All of the guys started to do arrangements for the group. And then they played one of their pieces for us. And we were just totally blown away. And it's been an amazing journey performing with them. We've been having so much fun, but we've also been growing, day by day, concert by concert. So I'm really excited to bring that group to New Orleans so they could get a chance to hear something that's a little different.
What influence did Noka have in your career?
Noka had an immense influence on my career. I always tell the story. It was the first time that I wanted to go to school every day. I remember one day I was really sick. Man, I had a fever. And I was still telling my mom that I wanted to go to school, and I had to catch myself when I said it. I was like, dude, you're getting a free day. You know, take advantage of it. And I really wanted to go to school because I felt like I was missing out on something, because I felt like I was learning something every day. You know, studying with Dr. Bert Bro, Lorraine Alfaro, and Ellis Marcellus, you know, was powerful. And then George Gentry was my private trumpet teacher, and Roger Dickerson was my composition teacher. So that team of people, man, really helped to broaden my perspective, to think well beyond, you know, the realm of music that I had experienced at the time, and made it possible for me to dream about having a bigger career. Because prior to that, I didn't see myself doing much of many of those things. But you know, once I had encountered those guys, they just really opened my eyes to all of the possibilities that were in front of me.
Wow. Terence Blanchard with his band, the E Collective, along with the Turtle Island String Quartet, will be performing on Sunday at 4 p.m. at the Jazz Fest, the WWOZ Jazz Tent. Very, very exciting. And now, though, time to go over to Alan.
Well, you know, Peggy, the season announcement was just made for the Rivertown Theaters of the Performing Arts, and what an ambitious season it is. First of all, the regional premiere of the Tony Award-winning Kinky Boots will be first thing out of the blocks, if you will, in September. It should be a fantastic show with a book by Harvey Fierstein and music by Cyndi Lauper. Previously, of course, we've seen it on national tours. Then it's the best little blank house in Texas, the Larry King work. No, not that Larry King, about the chicken house and its inhabitants. And then, of course, recently seen in a national tour, watch out for a chilly reception for Frozen. Disney's Frozen will be here in December at Rivertown, an early Christmas present for the kids. After New Year's, it's the first Stephen Sondheim work presented locally since he passed away in November. It's his first solo effort. A funny thing happened on the way to the Forum. Officially, Rivertown can't reveal anything about their next work because they have the rights to a Tony Award and Olivier Award winner. It's a comedy to run after Mardi Gras in March. We'll just have to call this the comedy that goes wrong in the meantime and just leave it at that, okay?
Okay.
Then 1 year from today, we'll all get to meet the character who lives in a pineapple in the bottom of the sea, SpongeBob SquarePants musical, with the regional premiere of that work. And again, you'll be able to see that the first through the third weekends in May, a year from now, 2023. And finally, they have a really ambitious project coming up, but lots of time and talent to do it. It's Disney's Newsies, a show we've seen on tour, and locally it's Summer Lyric. It's one of my favorites. I know not necessarily Dominic's, but it is definitely one of my favorites, with music by Alan Menken and dazzling choreography for the boys and maybe for the girls to appreciate as well. By the way, season subscriptions are now available. Give them a call at 504-461-9475. And check it all out. Again, Kinky Boots, best little blank house in Texas, on all the way to Newsies. You know, with Frozen, funny thing happened, and that comedy that cannot be mentioned, along with SpongeBob. Now, meanwhile, Jazz Fest may be the rage for everybody on the South Shore, with two theaters, though, on the North Shore are getting busy or staying busy. First of all, the British farce The Foreigner is getting ready to be seen at Cutting Edge Theater in Slidell. Rivertown Repertory last presented this work back in 2003 when, believe it or not, Gary Rucker starred and directed in it. And I have to say, I'm looking forward to seeing it again. Meanwhile, already on the boards at 30 by 90 Theater is Beth Henley's Crimes of the Heart. That's, by the way, set in Hazelhurst, Mississippi. Shows are Friday and Saturday nights at 8 and Sundays at 2:30. And so hopefully you all get a chance to go to the North Shore if Jazz Fest doesn't necessarily hold out any hope for you to be there. Meanwhile, Tuesday night was the LPO's Swing in the Oaks. I got a chance to take this little shot of Courtney Bryan, the composer and Tulane professor, along with Jose Torres-Tama. Again, they were hanging out before the concert started. Then, again, the repertoire, which included Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. Dr. Quinn Peeper was there on the piano, getting ready to play. And, of course, here's a shot of him exhausted after he had finished the Rhapsody. And then, again, the Peristyle. I can't tell you what a wonderful place it is here to hear music there. And for those of you who know me and follow me on YouTube, I did post the finale of the Sousa Stars and Stripes Forever with a special guest conductor. You'll have to go online to check that out. As speaking of chamber music and classical music. The NOLA Winds are having their debut at the Marigny Opera House on St. Ferdinand Street coming up on this Sunday, May 1st. Seniors and students are only $10, $15 suggested donation, as well as the Due e Cinque Chamber Group will be appearing along with Courtney Bryan, the composer, this coming Tuesday, May 3rd at the Marigny Opera House. Go ahead and check that out as well.
All right, Alan, thank you so much. Lots of good stuff. And before we go to part one of my interview with Sharon Preston-Folta, daughter of Louis Armstrong, let's start with an excerpt from the documentary that was called Little Satchmo, the name that he referred to his daughter as.
But what I want to know, how you're feeling, and quite naturally, I'm sure you otherwise doing all right. My man's taking care of everything, and wish you all the happiness. And I know Sharon's a good girl.
How did you find out that you were the daughter of Louis Armstrong?
I've known ever since I could, walk and talk. I mean, my father has been a part of my mother's life for many years. First, they were friends when she was married to Slim, her dance partner. And then when Slim passed away in 1950, their relationship became a romantic one. So it went from friendship to romantic. So he was visiting Mom, and then when I was born, he was there. So from the time that I was a toddler, he was a part of my life, and seeing him, whether we lived in Harlem or when we lived with my uncle in Perth Amboy, and then in the house in Mount Vernon, he was there. He was a part of it. Not as often as we all would have liked, but he was a part of it.
Mm-hmm. I know, of course, the big disappointment with your mother and yourself is that that he never did divorce his wife named Lucille to marry your mother, whose name was incredibly Lucille as well. But there was still so much love there, wasn't there?
There was. I wouldn't say that we were your typical family, but we were a family because, my father and my mother both loved each other. And then they wanted to do the best for me within what they understood was the best. So for both my parents who grew up in poverty, they felt that, providing me with what that my father would call my comforts. And he would say she has her comforts, and wanted to make sure that I dressed well. And again, education being key, and taking and just making sure that, our needs were met. Traveling with him when we could, especially when I was young. So his communication, he let us know that he loved us, whether it was writing a letter or sending an audio tape that would send a message or a postcard letting us know he was thinking about us. Many, many phone calls. He did what he could. He was on the road, I would say, almost 300 days out of 365. It just seemed that way. He worked a lot, all the way up until it was impossible for him to work. And there were so many different sides to him that, I wanted to share his humanity in a different way from how people know him, but also to say that, we were a family. I'm really proud to say that out loud.
Little Satchmo airs on Saturday, April 30th at 4 p.m. It is followed by my documentary, Satchmo in New Orleans at 5 p.m., followed by documentaries on Fats Domino, Deacon John, Alan Toussaint, Dr. John, and the Neville Brothers. We also have music specials featuring John Batiste and one on the Cajun music group Beau Soleil. Special thanks to Michael Murphy, the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation Archive, and Cyril Vetter. Go to WYES.org. Click on Music Specials during festival season for a complete schedule, because we also have some the next week as well. And by the way, Sharon Folta's book is called Little Satchmo, and that is available. And part 2 of our interview we'll show you next week. Now time for our picks of the week. Poppy.
Well, I'm a little worried Mom could get lost in the shuffle with Jazz Fest next weekend. So I want to remind everybody, next Sunday is Mother's Day, and Ralph Brennan is offering a brand new strawberry d'auberge cake to give Mother. Now, this is a passion of his son, Patrick, who's running the bakery at Ralph's Commissary, and that's why the Noma pastries are so fabulous these days. So pick up Friday and Saturday of next weekend, Mother's Day weekend, at Ralph's on the Park.
All right, thank you. Gwen?
Well, both of my recommendations are going to be at the Gentilly stage on Thursday at the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival. Now, the first will be Leo Nocentelli. Of course, you know him. You'll love him as the guitarist for the Meters. But he's presenting an album called The Another Side, which was a long-lost album made in the 1970s that by a series of miracles emerged more recently and actually was released in late 2021. The album, again, is called Another Side. And I'm looking forward to hearing the songs and the stories behind them. That's going to be at the Gentilly stage Thursday at 12:45. Then later at 3:35 will be the Dirty Dozen Brass Band's tribute to Dave Bartholomew, which I think is going to be fantastic. It's going to feature Elvis Costello and Al Little Fats Jackson. Of course, you know, because Mr. Bartholomew's career was so intertwined with Fats Domino's. But this is a tribute that's been rescheduled 3 times, and Elvis Costello and Little Fats Jackson have signed on each time. They really want to sing these songs, and it's going to be wonderful to see the great Dirty Dozen with these wonderful singers.
Thank you, Gwen. Alan?
Hey, I just want to let everybody know James Andrews and the Crescent City All-Stars will be the guest performers at the 29th Jazz Fest Shabbat at Touro Synagogue, the first time since 2019 they've held it. Again, this is also a Friday night Shabbat worship service at Touro Synagogue. But Gwen, keep in mind, you don't have to be Jewish to attend. Okay. Those who have attended know how special the event is. Past guest stars have been Irma Thomas, Kermit Ruffins, the Preservation Hall Jazz Band, Sunfly Barnes, and the late Alan Toussaint.
All right,
I'll see you at the theater.
Yes, and my picks, the New Orleans Children's Chorus announces its spring concert for 3 ensembles this Sunday, May 1st at 2:30 p.m. That's at Munholland United Methodist Church, 1201 Metairie Road. And this concert will feature singers aged 5 through 16 performing folk songs, art songs, and contemporary music. Go to NewOrleansChildren'sChorus.com. And Monday night at the House of Blues, WWOZ will be presenting Piano Night featuring 18 pianists, including Marcia Ball and Tom McDermott, along with Michael O'Hara. We love our Michael O'Hara. There are many ways to enjoy the evening. For tickets and details, go to wwoz.org/piano night. It will also be available at a cost for streaming, too. All that information on their website. Join WYES on Tuesday, May 3rd. From 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. for Give NOLA Day. And during our open house, we look forward to welcoming you to WYES, located at 916 Navarre Avenue. And there's popcorn, refreshments, live entertainment, and a tour of our state-of-the-art facilities. Go to WYES.org for details. Pianist Bill Malchow and an A-list of musicians will play a taste of Dr. John's Gumbo 50th anniversary celebration. That's at the Zoni Mash Beer Project on Wednesday, May 4th from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. The show will celebrate Dr. John's album, Dr. John's Gumbo, which was released on April 20th, 1972. Malchow will have Dr. John's original gumbo drummer, Freddie Flambeau Stale, performing as a special guest. And the album is a collection of classic New Orleans tunes. Go to Eventbrite or ZoniMash.com for more information. Last minute additions. We've got this weekend jewelry designer Patrice McMurray. She's at the Jazz Fest, Tent G at the Jewelry Tent, the Contemporary Arts Tent. And John Rankin will be playing Wednesday night at Deutsches Haus from 7 to 9. Thank you all so very much for watching. Good night.
Steppin Out is made possible in part by Susie and Pierre G. Villery.
With a lifetime of passion for public television, we're pleased to help underwrite Steppin Out.
Please join us in supporting WYES TV.
Rouse's is proud of the creativity and the unparalleled entertainment in New Orleans, and honored to highlight it with their sponsorship of Steppin Out on WYES.